Hi there, and welcome to AC's 8-Bit Zone. Well, today's episode is going to be a hardware repair of a CoCo 2. This was the CoCo 2 that I've featured in at least 2 other videos. It was originally missing its space key, and I replaced that with a 3D printed one. And if you'll remember, there was a video where I had 5 CoCo 2s and would they power on after years in storage. Well, this was one of them that came up with the black screen, well, the black and white screen, and so it's missing the color, and it was the one that had sort of the rusty RF modulator, and I never could quite tweak that RF modulator the way I wanted to. So since then, things have gotten worse. I've actually broken this CoCo, and now it has a black screen, so I don't get any output out of this CoCo. So we're going to find out what's wrong with this, and I think there might be at least 2 failures, if not even 3, going on at the same time in this one CoCo. So let's go ahead and get started. And this is the one that had the more finicky adjustment in its RF modulator, and I never quite could get it to hold the color image. Here's what that looked like. This particular modulator seems to be more sensitive than the other one to touching it or to just time. If I just wait long enough, it seems like it can drift out of spec. So I think I'm going to use this modulator for making any modifications, and that way the modifications I'm going to make are to remove the RF modulation. So in that case, I don't care if the tuning cap or the tuning pot are no longer any good. So that was flaky, even at best, and let me show you what happened right after that. So I was working on the Composite video and S-video mod in one of my other videos. I'll show you a link to that here above. But what happened was, so I was building this Composite video mod, and I didn't have this breadboard in place. I was connecting this RF modulator over here, and I had the fly wires and the DuPont connectors and all that, and I was being really careful about disconnecting power and turning everything off and then soldering, and I was making some changes and modifying component values and doing all kinds of experiments like that. And at one moment, I remember I was soldering on one edge of the box, and I think maybe I was reattaching this ground connection or something after making a change, and all of a sudden I heard a zap, and I had this sensation that I had just zapped an IC, either the MC's 1372 here or somewhere on the main board. I couldn't really tell what I had done, and sure enough, I turned the CoCo back on. I reconnected power, and I turned the CoCo back on, and the relay didn't click. It just was dead. And so I was in the middle of getting that video out about the Composite mod, so I just said, all right, well, forget this one. I'm going to have to go to my other CoCo 2 and run the new modulator board on that. So I abandoned this for the time being, and I'm just now getting back to it. So the first thing that I found was, yeah, something had blown the main fuse. The fuse is mounted here with the transformer, and sure enough, the fuse was blown. Yeah, so no good for that fuse, right? So I purchased some replacement fuses, and I couldn't get this exact fuse with the leads already welded onto the ends of the fuse. So what I opted to do was I bought an inline fuse holder, and this is the 300 milliamp fuse, and that's working really nicely. So then I was able to power the CoCo back and get the 5-volt rail. Okay, so with power back, I turned the CoCo on, and I did have power, and I had VCC, and everything was good, and chips were working. However, I still didn't have video with the Composite mod. So I thought, okay, something's wrong with my Composite mod. So I even tried with the other RF modulator that I had modified that I knew worked in the other CoCo, but it didn't work in this CoCo. So I ultimately decided, I thought, well, there must be something wrong with the signals coming from the main board. Either one of the color A or the color B or the luminance or sync signal. Something must be bad. So I checked all the signals with a scope, and everything looked pretty good. I have to confess, at the time I didn't know quite so much about what the signals would actually are supposed to look like, but things looked fairly reasonable. There weren't dead signals. Everything was making good signal transitions. Well, somewhere in all of this troubleshooting, I happened to change monitors, and with the other LCD monitor, suddenly instead of getting a completely black picture, suddenly I got a black and white image. So I thought, okay, something is partially working. I'm obviously getting luminance and sync. Maybe the chroma signals that are coming from the main board have some little glitch in them that I'm just not educated on, and I'm not noticing on the scope traces. So that's when I made this breadboard. This is the S-Video board, and my thought was, well, okay, I can troubleshoot luminance and chrominance separately and look at this from an S-Video angle. Well, amazingly, with S-Video, I still only got a black and white picture. Let me show you what that looks like. And this is what we're seeing on the video display. So it's a black and white S-Video image. It seems that the chroma information is getting lost in the signal. So let's take a look at the signal on the oscilloscope and see if it makes sense. See how it looks. Okay, so here we see the vertical sync pulse. It's 3 up followed by 3 down. Okay, so vertical sync, we're getting vertical sync, and this should look like a good signal because we're getting a good black and white image on S-Video, so we know that luminance and sync is working, or we couldn't get that on the screen. So this is a good signal. Okay, and then all of these are horizontal syncs plus horizontal line information. So for example, here's horizontal sync and the back porch. Here's the rising edge, and this is horizontal line video right here. So that's a solid, I believe that's a solid white level. So this would be one of the rows on the screen that is the light green background. And let's see if we can capture a few other examples. Okay, there we go. There is some light on dark. So we have some of the prompt message that's being displayed. Okay. Yep, so this is the look of a good NTSC black and white signal. Let's take a look at the chrominance signal on the pin 8 output of the RF modulator. Let's go ahead, let's AC couple channel 2. And then we can add a little gain there. Okay, so this is pin 8 right out of, this is the chrominance on pin 8 right out of the 1372 RF modulator chip. That, by the way, is not being used as an RF modulator. With the modification, we've canceled the RF modulation and we're making just a strict NTSC signal. Okay, so this looks good to me. This is the color burst. Okay, scanning over a bit. We see color information that will be combined with the luminance and synchronization information. So you can even see a pattern here. This is the blinking cursor. So it's the different levels, the different intensity, well, the different color signals. And you can also see the different intensities of black and white here. This peak is, I believe that's an extra bright signal. So I think that's the signal that's closer to white, or is that closer to black? That's probably the all light background. Down here is all dark. Okay, so a low signal at this level is dark. This is very bright, and that occasional high signal is even brighter. So let's run that again. Yeah, so these little extra high peaks here are an extra bright signal, and the width of it corresponds to the width of this little pattern in the color burst. So this is the cursor, the blinking cursor on the screen. So my dilemma here is everything looks good. We know this signal's working because we're seeing this information on the monitor. That certainly looks good. Why are we not getting color? Okay, so that was chrominance right out of the 1372 output pin. Let's check it on the other side of the amplifier just to make sure that that's getting amplified properly all the way out to the S-video connector. Make that connection here. And yes, we're getting good signal. There's a color burst, and here is color information. Now I'm seeing a little bit of ripple on what should be a DC level, but I don't think that would be causing issue, but maybe. But I do see color information there, or color burst there, and color information there. So why is this not getting through and looking good on the, why is this not working with the monitor? And also, before I used this S-Video breadboard, I had the Composite mod in place, and I was seeing very similar information in the combined composite signal. This was superimposed on top of the luminance, and there was none of this ripple here in these flat DC areas here. It was just a clean color burst here, and clean color information superimposed on that. That didn't work either. So I'm pretty sure that this small amount of ripple here in the breadboard circuit is not the cause of the problems. This is interesting. While I was probing with the oscilloscope over here, the monitor's been warming up for a while. Well, the CoCo's been warming up for a while. And look at this. I don't know if it's coming through on the camera or not, but I'm starting to see some green horizontal stripes through the screen. And I was playing with this off camera just a second ago. So just here under the breadboard, there is the main oscillator. It's the 14.31818 oscillator. Let me get a zoom on that. Yeah, okay, so right, just here is the main crystal. It's 14.31818 megahertz. And just to the right of it, you could barely see it underneath the breadboard here, this yellow tuning capacitor dials in the crystal frequency. And I noticed that, watch the display when all I do is I'm taking this wooden pick, and because I don't want it to be conductive or capacitive, so I'm just pressing down. Look at that. A green screen. It's perfect. It looks like absolutely clear S-video. Gosh, not on my camera though. It doesn't look good at all in this camera image. In real life, I promise you, that looks like a perfect green background. For some reason, it's washed out on my camera. Let me adjust the room lighting. Okay, yeah, I think that helped. Yeah, maybe that looks better on the camera. Anyway, that is perfectly clear S-video, dark green on bright green. And all I'm doing is pressing down. I'm just applying pressure to the tuning cap. So now I'll lift off. Okay, I'll go back on, off, on. You get the picture. So I think we have a bad tuning cap. Just for good measure, let's try rotating the screw a little bit, see if we can tune that. But I have a feeling that it's going to be a lot like the other tuning cap on the RF modulator, and probably no hope there. But let's give it a try anyway. Yeah, so I have a little plastic pick that I'm rotating with, and what's going on here is, yeah, it seems like it's coming in and it's coming out, but it's only coming in while I'm applying downward force on the screw. I think something has come loose inside the tuning cap and it's just not making reliable contact anymore. I'm going to need a new tuning cap component. The tuning capacitor is C43, and referencing the Tandy schematic, C43 is a 9 to 35 picofarad tuning capacitor. So on Amazon I ordered this kit of tuning capacitors. I'll put a link to this down below in the description. And you get 6 different values. This kit comes with everything from 5 picofarad up to 60 picofarad. Okay, we need 9 to 35. So I don't know. I think I'm going to start with this green one, the 30 picofarad cap. Looks like that could be a pretty fair fit. I must say the new part fits really nicely. The lead spacing is just perfect for the board. That was good luck. And it's actually holding itself in place because the leads are so wide, they're holding themselves in there. All right, what are the chances that this will just work without any tuning, without any playing around with it? What are the chances? Okay, reconnect the S-video. I'm going to record the screen just in case. What are the chances that we don't even have to adjust anything about the tuning cap? Let's see. Here we go. All right. The color's back. I didn't even have to change the position of the tuning pot or the tuning cap. I know people are going to scream, don't use that metal screwdriver, but I'm just going to turn a bit and release it. Okay, I just was curious how sensitive it was to the capacitance. So yeah, while I'm changing it, I'm sure I'm moving the frequency a little bit. And you can see there were some strange colors that were appearing while it was dynamically changing. But it looks like the TV is picking up the frequency just fine. It must be close enough or it's compensating. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Okay, so that's the trouble with these, I guess, new components or new proto boards that have come out. I don't know if it's, so I had to wiggle this tuning resistor here to bring the signal back. I don't know if it's because the newer proto boards have looser sockets, or is it that some of these components have thin lead wire, but you get a lot of loose connections whenever you're prototyping, and that is one of the drawbacks of this. So, which brings up a good point. The next thing, now that this CoCo is working fine again, I'm going to decide whether I'm going to move this circuit to a proper soldered in prototype board, or am I going to lay out a new board and get a real board made, a real PCB made for it. But anyway, this is great. The CoCo 2 is working. We have the color back. And S-video mod, or I have my choice of, I could always go back to this composite mod, or I could do both, but it's back in service. Okay, so until I decide which way to go with this PCB for the video output, I just temporarily have the S-video cable coming out of the cartridge port. I bet that's rare, isn't it? So temporarily, so that's good for now, and it's really awesome to see the higher quality S-video out of this really old CoCo. So this was my oldest CoCo 2 with the oldest serial number. It had the rusty RF modulator missing the space key. It had the tape and newspaper stuck to it. Now the case has been retro-brighted. I've replaced the space key. The keyboard actually works now. So this is awesome. All I need is a proper video output PCB to replace the old proto board, or the temporary proto board that I have in there right now. So I hope this has been helpful for you and interesting to watch. So until next time, see you then.